This week in AI, IBM lost one-fourth of its value in a single day. Workers walked out of a Hyundai factory over humanoid robots, and China delivered another DeepSeek-style warning to Silicon Valley. Technology stocks fell across the market. Google delayed its next Gemini model. Europe Union ordered Google to help the AI companies competing against it, and US pushed back against the data centers powering the AI boom. Apple briefly reclaimed the title of the world's most valuable company, and Mira Murati, OpenAI's former chief technology officer, finally launched her own model. The AI boom promised intelligence, productivity, and growth. This week, it delivered strikes, stock market panic, regulation, and one very expensive reality check. Hello, I am Mahesh Devalla, Chief Technology Officer, author, and strategic advisor to companies on AI across the US, Europe, and India. You are watching AI Edge with Mahesh Devalla, where every week we turn AI chaos into clarity. Let's get straight into the stories. Let's begin with IBM, where Wall Street delivered a performance review worth nearly $70 billion. This week, IBM shares fell roughly 25% after the company warned that its second quarter results would miss expectations. The company said enterprise customers had shifted budgets towards AI chips, servers, and memory, delaying spending on IBM software and services. In other words, companies still want IBM software, but they are conveniently spending the money somewhere else first. IBM expected the AI boom to lift the entire technology stack that would manifest itself. But customers looked at their budgets, bought GPUs, and told IBM software services team to call back next quarter. Well, what a whim. This parable did not calm investors. It actually made them more apprehensive. IBM's decline became one of its worst single-day stock performances on record and raised a larger question across the market. Is AI creating new technology spending or merely pulling money away from everything that created before it? While the spending has not disappeared, but it has moved towards infrastructure, AI, chips, etc. That shift leads directly to the broader market, where IBM was not the only one stock under pressure. This week, technology shares ended sharply lower, led by semiconductor and AI infrastructure companies. The Nasdaq recorded a difficult week while the major semiconductor indexes fell roughly 20% from its June peak. Investors are looking at hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into AI data centers, chips, power, and networking. They are asking an excruciatingly painful ordinary question. When does this all spending turn into profits? For 2 years, announcing a larger AI budget was enough to lift a stock. This week, announcing a larger AI budget started to sound like a threat. The technology has not suddenly stopped working, but investors' patience is becoming palpable day after day. To the contrary, Wall Street somehow loves the future. It simply prefers the future to generate cash before next earnings call. Let's move to China for our next story, where Chinese competition added another layer of anxiety, especially after Moonshot AI introduced Kimi K3, a massive open-weight model that quickly climbed coding leaderboards and attracted global attention. This model has 2.8 trillion parameters, uses a more efficient attention architecture, and is expected to become openly available later this month. Its arrival immediately drew comparisons with DeepSeek, the Chinese model that shocked markets by delivering strong performance at a lower cost. Silicon Valley has spent years arguing that frontier AI requires larger budgets, larger data centers, and larger electricity bills. China keeps replying with a simply deeply inconvenient question: can we do more with less? Kimi K3 does not appear to beat every leading closed model. Its performance is strong enough to reopen the argument over US models, open models, and the economics of AI infrastructure. That was enough to shake chip stocks. The warning is not that China has already won. The warning is that the gap keeps narrowing, while the cost of competing keeps rising. While the market is worried about Chinese models, Hyundai workers in South Korea staged partial strikes amid disputes over pay, profit sharing, and the company's plans for humanoid robots. The workers are asking for safeguards before robots enter production lines, including agreements over job security and how automation will be introduced. This may be the first major automobile factory stoppage where humanoid robots become a central labor issue. I understand workers' kryptonite, but there is little to nothing they can do now. For years, companies presented robots in polished demonstration videos. The robot carried a box, waved at the camera, and everyone applauded. Meanwhile, factory workers watched the same video and saw a future colleague who never sleeps, never asks for overtime, and definitely never joins the union. But something changed. The workers' strike is not simply an opposition to the technology. It is a demand for a voice in how the technology changes work. That distinction will define the next phase of automation. Companies have total freedom to introduce robots with employees or introduce robots to replace employees. Juxtaposing this idea is very uncanny. The hardware may be ready for the factory, but the social contract clearly is not. That brings us back to software giant Google, where next flagship model is still trying to leave the laboratory. Google has reportedly delayed Gemini 3.5 after internal testing showed the model was not meeting expectations, particularly in coding. The delay comes when OpenAI, Anthropic, XAI, and Chinese labs continues to release new models. Google has world-class researchers, enormous infrastructure, Android, search, YouTube, cloud, and enough data to make every company feel envious, but at the same time, it is their sacrosanct duty to get the best model out there. The company's problem is not a lack of ingredients. It is getting the meal out of the kitchen while the competitors keep serving new courses. In my view, delay is not automatically a failure. Releasing an underperforming flagship would create an even bigger problem for Google. So Google is taking time to get the best model out there. The pressure is coming from the timing, because in AI world, a few months can feel like an entire product generation. Let's stick to Google and move to Europe for a bit. Google is being told to improve its own AI and simultaneously make life easier for rival AI companies. The European Commission issued building requirements forcing Google to open parts of Android and search to competitive AI companies. Rival AI assistants must eventually receive comparable access to Android features, including voice activation and background actions. Alongside, Google must also share anonymized search data with qualifying competitors. To be honest, it's really difficult to do business in Europe if you are a technological company. Europe's position is straightforward. Google controls Android, search, and Gemini. It cannot use the control to make every competitive assistant feel like a guest using the side entrance. But Google argues that requirement could create privacy and cybersecurity risks, while Europe says access will come with safeguards. This arrangement is unprecedented, unusual, and preposterous. Google spent billions of dollars building Android and search. Then regulators come in and say, you need to share some of it. The goal is to reduce competition, but the tension is the security reticent behind it. If rules work, smaller AI companies gain a fairer path to users. If they fail, Google may be blamed for risks created by access it never wanted to provide. In my opinion, it would become a good parable in the future. If you are enjoying the video so far, hitting like, subscribe, and sharing it with a friend would really mean a lot to us. It genuinely motivates the team to keep creating videos that help you understand AI without the hype and the noise. Let's move to data centers. Opposition to AI data centers is spreading across the United States. communities are raising concerns over electricity prices, water consumption, pollution, land use, and at the speed at which giant projects are being approved. New York has moved towards a one-year moratorium on large hyperscale data centers, while activists in several states are demanding for tighter controls. Existing proposed and delayed data center projects across the country represent tens of billions of dollars. The AI industry calls data centers the infrastructure of the future, while local residents see power plants, transmission lines, construction traffic, and utility bills arriving in the present. For Silicon Valley, compute is a strategic resource. For the family living beside the proposed facility, it may be a question of water, noise, and whether electricity becomes more expensive. This resistance crosses political lines. Environmental groups worry about emission and water, conservative communities worry about land rights and corporate influence. While the AI might be asking and figuring out, where should I stay? A short answer is, it may live in the cloud, but its buildings are firmly on the ground. Our next story is about Apple. Apple briefly toppled Nvidia to reclaim the title of the world's most valuable publicly traded company. During Friday's trading, Apple reached a market value of nearly $4.9 trillion, moving slightly ahead of Nvidia, even though Nvidia recovered enough to finish the session with a narrow lead. The moment still captured the mood of the market. Nvidia represents the AI infrastructure boom. Apple represents a more established consumer business with enormous cash flows, stronger device sales, and growing optimism around its delayed AI plans. While investors become nervous about AI spending, Apple suddenly looked like the calm adult in the room. This is an unusual role for a company currently being criticized for moving slowly in AI. Apple did not win the week with a breakthrough model. It nearly won by not owning the stocks investors were selling fastest. Nvidia kept the crown at the closing bell. The throne is clearly less comfortable than it looked a month ago. That brings us to the final story of this week. A former OpenAI leader who has spent more than a year building quietly, Thinking Machines Lab, founded by former OpenAI Chief Technology Officer Mira Murati, launched its first general-purpose AI model called Inkling. Inkling is an open white model with 975 billion parameters. Developers can download it, customize it, and run it through Thinking Machines, Tinker platform, and other services as well. On the side note, just FYI, Tinker is an innovative managed fine-tuning service and training API. It allows developers and researchers to customize open weight language and vision models using standard Python without the headaches of GPU cluster management. The release enters a market where many of the strongest open models have recently come from China. Meta pulled back after Llama 4 disappointed, while companies increasingly turn to models from Alibaba, DeepSeek, and Moonshot AI. Murati is making a different bet here. The model does not appear to lead every benchmark. Early results suggest that the strength in agentic related tasks and its open design may attract developers seeking greater control. Mira Murati left OpenAI, raised billions, hired an elite team, and finally released a model. In Silicon Valley, that counts as a long period of mysterious silence. In normal business time, it is remarkably fast. Inkling arrives with a fitting name. It is the first real indication of what Thinking Machines wants to become. So that is this week in AI, where AI spending is moving markets, robots are changing labor negotiations, models are reshaping global competition, data centers are entering local politics, regulators are redesigning platforms. The AI race is still accelerating. The people paying for it, working beside it, and living near it are beginning to demand a vote. That may be the strongest signal of this week. I am Mahesh Devalla. If this helped, please subscribe to the channel, share it with someone trying to understand AI without the noise, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.